Wow, I'm so excited for this pre-patch event, getting to see this old, new content. Oh, it's so much fun. I'm so glad BFA's over. I just can't wait to get used to this. Champion! Azeroth cries out for darkened or pitch black scourge stones, and only you can find them!
Oh, hell no. Oh my god, I'm out of here.
Champion,
See
where
ya,
are
I'll
you
see you in
going?
Shadowlands, guys.
What's up gamers, it's TreesapJake here with another new video, and this time we're going to be looking at my top 5 tips for beginners to PvP going into Shadowlands. But before we begin, I'd just like to say if you want to see more videos like this, if you want to help support this channel, please like and subscribe. There's a lot of you who are watching who haven't subscribed. It would really help me out and I'd super appreciate it. P.S. I love you guys. Thank you so much. But also, you may have noticed I've changed the name of my character. So finally, Jake is the name of my character. You can look me up easily as long as you know how to Google that E, because obviously I couldn't get the actual name Jake. But now, if you want to look up my character, see what I'm wearing, see what stats I'm using, just copy the name from the videos. Alternatively, I have got all my armory links on the page, so you can check that out. So let's get started. My top 5 tips for beginners to PvP going into Shadowlands. Okay, number 1, Keybinds. So, much like when you got your Charmander in Pokemon and it evolved into a Charmeleon, this is an upgrade for you. You may have spent the time, using your mouse to click on abilities. So you'll be, okay, I want to click on Lightning Bolt and Lava Burst and do this, and then I've got to click on this guy over here and then maybe change a target and then click down here. It's crazy hard, and you've got to be exceptionally skilled with a right hand and very fast. I know some people can do it, but it's crazy. Clicking is super slow, and it is one of the reasons why when you start doing keybinds, you actually get a lot faster. You're able to react a lot faster. So that'll really help you. My suggestion is to start super simple. Take your 4 main abilities. So for Shaman, very easy. You want to get Lightning Bolt, you want to get Lava Burst, you want to get Flame Shock and Earth Shock. Those are your main damage abilities. In PvP, that's all you'll kind of really need as your just main flow. Obviously, there are lots of other different bits and pieces like Healing Surge, etc, but we'll leave those for now. Your main damaging abilities, you want to put them on the easiest keybinds for you. For me, that is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those are the simplest ones for me. I use Q, W, and E to move around, and I also use my mouse to change direction. So those are the easiest ones for me to press. Very simple, very easy. Those are probably the best ones. My advice for you is just to make it easy on yourself. Another thing is if you plan to ult, if you plan to play lots of different characters, make sure you put all the binds very similar. So, the main 4 abilities of Warlock or the main 4 abilities of Rogue, put them in the same place, because then you'll drill in some sort of muscle memory. And, muscle memory is the thing. You play sports, probably, maybe not, but either way, muscle memory, that's the main thing, and that's what you want to do. Then after that, you can start building it up however you like, whatever's easiest. So I use one of those multi-MMO mouse, so I've got like 12 different keybinds on my side of my mouse. You've probably seen them. You just assign those. I use F1 to F12 pretty much on there. They make up most of my keybinds, and then I just assign whatever's easiest for me to press there all the way up. Important abilities first, so F2, F3 are the main abilities, F4 as well is where my Healing Surge is, so I just press those on my mouse. Very easy, very accessible for me, but you don't have to worry about that too much. Mainly focus on getting the most important keybinds on there first, because then you can just turn around, run up to things, press 4, you can press 2, very easy. I don't have to do anything. I literally can just stand here, press buttons, and I can move my mouse around, and if I need to touch anything else like this guy here and then maybe heal him, all fine, and I'm feeling good. So that's really important. So moving on to number 2, we're going to be looking at add-ons and macros. Now, add-ons, I really can't stress this enough. Don't overload yourself. Start with something very simple. You may have seen from some of my videos that on the right hand side of the screen there is an add-on called Gladius, which shows you the enemy that you are playing in an arena. That's super important. That is one of the most useful add-ons. It'll show you their trinket, it'll show you their cast bars, it'll show you the diminishing return tracker of your CC, so your crowd control, so your hex, for example, your stuns, what your ally does as a stun. That's super important. It'll really help you with that. Probably the most vital add-on you can get. I'll leave a link for that and the other ones that I suggest down in my in the info section, so do check them out. Gladius is also great because if you're using focus macros, which we will go on to talk about, you can just right click on any of the opponents that you see there, and it'll instantly make it your focus. So if I show you now, if I click on this Ardent Watchman, I right click him and set focus, my focus will appear there. You'll see in a lot of my games that I'll be switching sometimes between focuses. Very simple right click. You can also make a macro for that, but to keep it very simple, just click on Gladius. It'll make life simpler. So other than Gladius, you've also got details. Now the reason why I suggest details, as you can see it's on this right hand side of my screen there, is because you can track and you can see the damage that you do, which is great, and the healing that your opponent does, as well as lots of different other things. What you can do with details, you can go back and have a look at previous games and actually see what the damage breakdown of what your opponent has done. So let's say you go into an arena and you get absolutely destroyed by a rogue, but you have no idea what they're doing. You can click on this bit here, so where it symbols their name. Obviously at the minute it will just show you mine, but it'll show you exactly what the highest damage is. So here, lava burst and then lightning bolt. So if, let's say, you go up against a shaman and you see them casting lava burst and you think, wow, that's really hitting me quite hard, you can kick that. You can use your interrupt to stop that, and that will reduce the damage, maybe helping you survive. So that's one thing that will be very useful. Details is a very useful add-on for that specific reason, because self-analyzing your gameplay is so vital. Really help you. The next part we're going to be looking at is macros. Now, I don't want to do anything too complicated. I don't use anything too complicated, and I don't think you should either. For beginners, you want to keep it very, very simple. These are the ones that I use. The main one that I've shown you up on the screen here now is the hex macro. So this is at my focus target. So I've already gone into the arena. I've right-clicked on the healer, for example. In a 2v2 arena or using my Gladius, I've right-clicked on their name. I now have them as a focus. So then I have this focus cast macro. What it will do is that I can be targeting someone else, and as soon as I press the button that I've assigned for my focus hex, it'll start casting it on someone else. It'll start casting it on my focus target, which is super important because it means I can stay offensive on my main target whilst also providing CC on the healer so I can go for the kill. So as you can see, I've got this very simply in terms of keybinds. I've got X is my hex, and then Shift X is my focus target macro hex. So I will be using that on healers or whoever I make my focus target. You can also do arena 1, 2, and 3 for hexes, but I don't have that, and I think you should keep it very simple for the minute. Very simple. If you want to copy this, that's not a problem at all. I will put these down in the bit at the bottom, the info bit at the bottom, just so you can copy and paste them. But essentially, it's show tooltip. You don't even need to put the hex, it'll just show up whatever you put as the cast there. So show tooltip hex if you want to, /cast in the brackets at focus hex. And what that will do, it'll essentially focus target hex your opponent. The other good one to have a look at is my focus target for wind shear. So this is your kick. For a ranged caster like a mage or a warlock or shaman, you can just focus kick someone very easily with this, and I think that's all you really need to focus on, really. Pun. But I think that actually they're the best that you can go for when you're starting to learn. They're simple, you don't have to worry too much, you don't have to worry about frantically clicking on the enemy. You know, let's say you're up against this guy and you want to run it and you're like, oh no, I've got to kick this guy, you've got to turn, you've got to get them and make sure they're there. Instead, you can be here and you can just turn, press the button, and you can still stay on the target. Sometimes, if you're even lucky with the angles, you don't even need to turn towards them to face him. Or if you're a warlock and you've got a pet, you can just instantly press it, don't even need to turn away. So there's lots of cool things you can do with the focus target macro, and I'd make sure that you put them on an easy keybind. It'll be really helpful. Number 3 is arena tips. Now, this is the tips that I'd say that is the best for learning your class. The best way to learn for arena is to jump in head first into the deep end, and the best way to do that is by playing double DPS 2s. I remember hearing this a very long time ago, and it's sort of an unwritten rule really in the PvP community of how to get better, how to learn how to play your class better, is to simply play a lot of 2v2 arena as double DPS. The reason why is because you learn how to survive, and that's key. If you can learn how to survive in 2v2 arena, you'll be able to survive when you play with a healer and they get CC'd. When they get put away and they can't see you, you can run behind a pillar, you heal yourself. It gives you a lot of skills that you wouldn't necessarily get by essentially falling asleep in healer 2s, or even in 3s when you know that you're going to be kept up. If your healers in CC in 3s, you need to find a way to survive. Maybe it's a cooldown. Maybe you preemptively start to press the cooldown. Maybe you've run behind a pillar before they've blown all their cooldowns. You started off healing yourself. Maybe your ally, your other DPS, is dying, and you off-heal them whilst your healer's CC'd. There's lots of things that you can do, and playing double DPS 2s will really help you learn how to play that. Very vital. Which actually brings us on to number 4, which is using the looking for group function. Now, looking for group is notoriously bad in the sense that you meet a lot of nasty people, but a lot of good people as well. My advice on this is to find someone that you enjoy playing with. Now, it sounds super simple, but there's a key snag there. Try and get into voice with as many people as possible. If you can push for getting into voice with people, you make a connection, because Arena is, funnily enough, all about teamwork and synergy. It can't really be carried by one person unless, you know, they're super ultra R1 playing in the 1600 bracket, then maybe. But normally, if you're playing around 1800 and you're trying to push for your first ever 2K, you want to get in a team that actually works well together. And by doing that, you can get into voice, you learn to play with them, especially if you're doing double DPS 2s, you learn what their cooldowns are, you learn how best to communicate, all vital skills. And you'll find that as you do this, you'll become better, you'll get a lot more practice in, and you'll actually have your battle tag friend list increase massively with multitudes of people that you can play with. And that's vital, because there are a lot of people, and I've heard this a lot from people, who've come back to the game or have been playing the game and wanting to PvP, but know no one who wants to play with them. If you build up that list, you'll have loads of people to choose from, and you'll get lots of people messaging you back as well, which is super cool. So make sure you're super nice, you're very proactive, and just don't be afraid to jump in, message people, whisper them saying, hey, look, I'm learning, can we go? There's a lot of nice people out there, so just be bold. Number 5, and this is a kind of a special one, investigate other classes. Now, what I mean by investigate other classes, I don't mean, you know, go out of your way to watch loads of different guides on YouTube for other classes. I mean, if you've got a couple of alts and you want to know how they work, you know, let's say you have a warlock, you have a rogue, you want to know how they work, go and play them for a little bit. Log on them, find out, because every single expansion, classes change, things change, and what you used to know in BFA is not going to be the same going into Shadowlands. They're going to be totally different ways of playstyle, especially as a lot of classes like Affliction Warlock, Subtlety Rogue, they've now come back in, and they used to be, you know, very bottom tier, and they would never be played apart from very rare circumstances. So nobody knows how they work. Log on them, play around, do a few battlegrounds. You'll actually start to learn how these classes work, and when you learn how those classes work, you can counter them on your main class. I think that's super vital for beginners to understand how other classes work, because sometimes, and I hear this a lot, they'll run in and be like, whoa, what killed me? What happened? Where am I going wrong? You're going wrong because you don't know what's actually doing the damage to you. So how can you possibly plan to deal with it? And I think that's super vital for a lot of beginners. When you go in from, you know, doing PvE, going into do PvP, at least in, you know, raiding, you kind of read the tooltip. You've got dungeon boss telling you, deadly boss guides telling you exactly what to do, what's killing you, where to move. That's great. You can do exactly the same thing for PvP. You can just find out what the classes do. Okay, so this Affliction Warlock is pressing a lot of Unstable Affliction, and then he's using Malefic Rupture. That's doing a load of damage. Is all these dots here. How do I stop this? Well, as a shaman, you've got a decurse. You can get rid of Curse of Agony, for example, which builds up and does a lot of damage over time. You can kick the UAs. You can kick the Malefic Ruptures. You can stop that. But you wouldn't know that that's sort of the big damage unless you've played it. You wouldn't know that Dark Soul is purgeable if you haven't played it. So there's lots of different really cool bits and pieces that you can learn by playing other classes, and I really recommend doing it. You know, an example of where it worked really well for me is if you've got these events like, you know, Brewfest or Hallow's End, you know, where you've got to sort of try and get the mounts from doing these dungeons. Queue up with your ults. They can be even low level. Queue up with them into these dungeons. Spam them. I queued up with about 10 to 15 characters a day. And I felt as if when I came out of that, having tried to figure out how to actually do damage on them, I sort of understand how the classes work now. I understand where their burst come from, where their CC comes from. And I think that's super vital for learning to do PvP. Okay guys, that is my top 5 tips. I really hope they help. Obviously, if you have any questions, do ask me. I'm more than happy to answer them on YouTube, or if you want to message me more personally, follow me on Twitter. You may have seen the @TreesapJake that pops up a couple of times, sort of up there. Do check that out. I will answer any questions if you have them. I'll put more info down in the description below. And that's everything. Remember to like and subscribe, really helps. Catch you in the next video.